little faces, so when I ask a question, you move your head and I can see that you're there. Okay. All right. So, yeah, you can go ahead and brush your hair. Okay. So, okay, here's a Moodle for those that were not here on the first class long time ago. Here where it says general and you can expand it, I'm going to have it closed. You have all the information for the course, so you can go ahead and see it. Also, you have the rubric for speeches, so pay attention to that. For those that are not used to do videos, record themselves explaining, this class is pretty much that, okay? You're going to read some type of information and I will give you a way that you have to present it. So you need to at least know how. The simplest one to me is here on Teams, that you share the image, you record it, and then you share the link. But you also have the option to do a PowerPoint presentation, upload it on YouTube, and share the link. Or you can also do it in Canvas, however you want. Okay. Eh, okay, so you already have the access for Unit 1, which you were supposed to read from last week, right? For those that took last semester with me, it seems very similar because in the first unit, you need to have clear how English is taught. The three of language teaching, okay? So you already kind of developed this. For those that are new, this is the tree of language teaching, okay? It goes how different sections of English is taught. We have the English language teaching that breaks down into English for mother tongue, English for foreign language, and English as a second language. And then you keep on seeing the branches of the whole tree. Okay. This you have to explain it. And this is on the task. Okay. So I'm not going to go over the whole thing. And also you have this section that is how English is broken down in order to be taught from pre-K or kindergarten to the fourth last years of high school to 12th grade, senior year. Then you have vocational teaching of English, uh, what in the United States is called college, or the first years at the university, the undergrads, which are all the years of university that you're almost about to finish. Okay. And then you have masters, you have doctorate, postdoctorate, or professional schools. Okay. Why do I want you to look at that? Because you have to be clear that for every grade, for every uh, level that there is in English, there is a specific way of teaching English. You don't teach the same way for a pre-K that you teach in a doctorate, or you don't teach the same way in English in a doctorate that you do for an undergraduate. Okay, this goes related with that tree of English because in your English is specifically because you're going to be English teacher. So it's English for teaching, but in other sections may be for occupational or English for a specific purpose, which is just to give vocabulary. So you have to be clear that on the levels that you are is the way that you teach English. Okay, and that's why I want you to go through the whole thing and deliver the task on Wednesday. Okay. Um, we have here also I added multigrados, which that's something very particular of third world countries, especially Panama, where when you're a teacher and you go to the comarca or areas that is hard to access, they put you like students for first grade to sixth grade, all of them in one room. And then you have to come up with all the adaptations that you learned last semester and adapt it according to the grades and what the goals, the objective. And another thing that picked up a lot of importance during pandemic, the online teaching. Okay. And as I have mentioned to your classmates, because I took my whole master's degree in teaching online, and a special section of that master's online was how to teach online classes. You are not going to be sitting down with me the whole time because that's not a way of teaching online. Okay. Teaching online and specifically at your level last year of university is an autonomous type of learning. I provide you with the information. I request tasks from you. We meet for you to clarify information, and I meet with you in order to give you instructions of what you're doing. But you're not going to be sitting. We have 4 hours of class today and then 2 hours of class on Wednesday. Most likely you will only, and if I talk too much, will meet with me 1 hour today. The rest of the other 5 hours of classes, the 3 of today, the 2 on Thursday, sorry, is for you to develop the task. Okay? Because I already have you sitting in front of me. Okay? And I'm going to assign you more things to be sitting down. Okay? So that's not good for the brain and the learning style. Okay? So for Kerube, Josmi, you took online classes with me before? Yes. We never, I think it was Introduction to Genre, or what was it?
Yes, teacher, it was only that class. That was face to
Okay,
face.
yeah, that's a class.
The whole course, it was online.
Yes, that class I meet a lot of time because it requires a lot of information and it's second year. But here in fourth year, you will not see my face that much. Okay, so this is, I'm going over this because I didn't have a chance to go over it last week because but all of this information is a task that is due this Wednesday because it was assigned from last week. Okay. But usually with me, I assign you something Monday. It's not due the same week. It will be due the next Thursday or in 15 days. So I never assign something for the same week. Okay. So all of this is also information that you have to read for the Thursday task. The difference among students, uh, that we were over this on the last class, how some students focus more on linguistic, so others are proficient in their home language, generation. So go ahead and read all this stuff. And this is another deja vu. Okay. The levels of proficiency. Okay. You have to be very clear that in every class, you're going to find students within these 5 levels of proficiency. Some of them will be in level 1 starting and will remain there for the 12 years of high school or uh, school, unless you help them. But most Panamanians will remain in level 3, developing. Okay? It's hard unless you get to university teaching English that you get to a level 5 reaching. So everybody has a level of proficiency, and I should be breaching, and you should be breaching by the time that you teach. Okay, that is almost native. So here you have some of the explanation on the different levels, and here it goes into detail on what they focus on. Okay, on how each level of English learns, because each one of them learns differently as well. So that's another thing that you have to take into consideration when you teach the different type of students and their levels, if you need to make an adaptation. Okay, and I think I mentioned that before, but this is one of the reasons why I recommend every English teacher to give, those introductory speeches at the beginning of each class, because you get to learn the level of proficiency of each one of your students with that speech. And the more the years go by, the easier it is for you to determine the level of learning and how I mean, in the Meduca system and on schools, they don't give you like a range of ways on how you can adapt. Unfortunately, here in Panama, we are material eaters. What do I mean by that? They give you a bunch of material, and it doesn't matter if you learn or don't learn, they move to the next one. Okay? But a good teacher tries to adapt, or at least make a little game or something in order for your students to learn. Okay? So go ahead and finish reading that. And this is the CEFR, which is a common reference level for teaching. And this one may come a little more reliable to you, because sometimes when other teachers are teaching you, they'll say a student is A1, which is a very basic, or that will be level 1. Okay, A2, B2. So this is the actual global scale of English for learning. Okay, so for example, if you apply for a scholarship in the United States or any European country, you have to take an English exam, and they will tell you have to be B2 or C1 in order to be able to win the scholarship. So this is pretty much the same as these levels, just with breaking down differently. So this is the information that you have to work on to deliver on Thursday for task number 1. So what is task number 1 about? Here you go. Here you have, as I said, with me will be this video presentation. Your face must be seen in a little circle on one side. Okay, so make sure of that. And here are all the instructions. For the first part, you have to make a comparison of the chart with the different types of English that there are. These are the the initials of them, okay? And make a comparison chart for all of those. Just give the highlights of what makes one different from the other, or what is the specific characteristic of each one of them, okay? Then also using a chart, you're going to indicate what is the purpose of education on the following levels in which English teaching styles is used. And you will determine from nursery to online. Very short. I'm not asking you for a lot of information. Go to the point. Remember what I said. The more you talk, the more BS you talk about. So go directly and straight to the core, to what it is. Okay? Question number 3. Mention the main aspects of the difference among students. Make a summary. That is the section of text where it started with linguistic. Okay? And then the last question, briefly explain the levels of proficiency and the importance of recognize them. Okay. On question 2, meaning this one, you're going to include the grade number and the characteristic of each student. Okay. Nursery, pre-K, you can tell me the age, more or less, how old there should be in pre-K. What characteristic students from pre-K should have? The English have to be very active. If I sit down and just talk, they're going to be bored like just me. They're going to be yawning all the time. Okay? So you have to sing, you have to make them jump. Okay? So those are the characteristics. Okay? The presentation will be, as I told you, just deliver. Your delivery must be done with a link to YouTube or Canvas or even a link to Teams. Okay, only the link. If you deliver the PowerPoint by itself is going to be too heavy. So deliver it in YouTube, Canvas, or Teams link. Okay. The presentation will be between 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, not negotiable, Nathaniel. I'm saying to be brief and short, direct to the point. Okay, and if you make it short by writing, I'm pretty sure you can in 7 minutes explain everything. Oh, already somebody delivered. Okay, I have to see that one. Just make sure the person that already delivered that delivered what I asked for. Okay, so that is the task. Oh, let me show you here. For those that have not taken Moodle with me, here you have the time that it closes. Thursday, September 4th at 10:05 p.m. At that time, it closes. If you didn't deliver it, you will get a 0. There's no chance to deliver online. I ignore people delivering things online, okay? So make sure to do that. And this task was open from last week, Monday, 25th of August 2025. And the dates are like this because I think Moodle it's delivered in the UK. So they have the same system as we do, day, then month, and then year. Okay? So what do we have in hand for this other unit? Unit 2A is the actual introduction to we are going to be covering in this class 2 skills. Listening first and then speaking. You have another class where you do reading and writing. Okay? So remember, those, if you don't remember, are the 4 skills of English or of any language. And there should be, I always suggested that there should be a class, but they have never done it, that where you can integrate all the skills. But they usually don't do it. But anyhow, we do what we can. All right. So as every unit, you will have one section of resources, which is will have one mandatory reading and sometimes supporting readings or supporting videos. Okay. And then you have the section for task, which is the task assigned each week. Okay. When you finish the task, okay. So for example, you finish reading this English language teaching field and levels. That's the one that you looked at. You should press here on finalización. Okay. Go ahead and press there. So it sends me a sign that supposedly you read it. Okay. Why everything has that? Because I'm trying to make this class accessible for those that are doing professional or práctica profesional, that if you finish something, the next unit will open instantly so you can keep on working. Okay. But I haven't figured out how to do it. How I haven't gotten there yet. But I know that you have to do finalización, so that's why I included that. So for now, just keep doing it like this. So this week's unit is unit 2A. We got 2A, 2B, and 2C. All of those have to do with listening and the preparation or the background for how you should teach listening or what listening is. Okay. So here in the PDF, you have the mandatory reading, and you're going to go ahead and read all this information that I'm not going to go over, but it has to do with the process of uh, teaching listening, specifically global listening, selective listening, and bottom up and top down, and interactive processing. I'll explain it a little bit in a minute, but that's what this unit is about. And then you have your task number 2, which is open from today, and it will close next week. And that's what I said. I don't give you anything on the same week. It'll be for the next week. So you have like the whole weekend, if you work on weekends, to do it in order to deliver it. Okay. This one will be to read unit 2A and again, develop a presentation internalizing and explaining each of the topics covered in this section. Your face must be seen in the presentation. That's a requirement always for all your presentation. Complement your ideas by researching beyond what's stated on the booklet, although it's not mandatory. Search for examples to support your explanations. It will be good if you do that, but I don't put a gun to your head to do that, okay? Participation, your presentation will be 5 to 15 minutes. And as always, you can deliver sharing YouTube, sharing the link of Canvas, or sharing the link of Teams, okay? So another thing that I want to move on before explaining a little bit that section of introduction to listening is that for this class, and I already made it available, although you don't have the task open, you have Unit C available, okay? And I want you to focus on Unit C on the glossary and on the forum, okay? You have to do for this class a glossary and what is demanded of you? A minimum of 3 words after reading, and it doesn't have to be right now, okay? The glossary doesn't close, but there is a but, and I will let you know when I go to the forum, okay? So, what is the glossary about? Active description. You're going to start adding words from the readings of Unit 2, A, B, and C that you might find that will enrich yours and your classmates' vocabulary. Each term will include a clear and direct definition of at least one example of its use and relevant reference. So when you do a glossary, you put the word, you put the definition, and because we are online, of course, you always get those definitions from online. So put the link of the reference where you've got the definition from. The student's responsibility. Each student will participate actively in the development of this glossary to contribute to the group learning with a minimum of 3 words. Okay? My role, just to read the definitions if they are okay, and make any corrections if there are any. Okay? So that's something in addition that you have to work on. And the but, remember that I told you the glossary doesn't work, doesn't close, but you have a forum and the forum closes. It closes on October 16th. Your glossary will be reviewed on the 18th of October, as well eh, as your forum. So make sure that you put the 3 words before the forum closes, okay? So what will you do on the forum? In this forum, as participant of this course, you could debate and share your perspective about the readings and videos shared on Unit 2. When I say Unit 2, remember Unit 2 is divided A, B, and C. So any of those. Don't just focus on A and don't just put all the glossary from A, okay? Try to do it with all the 3 when you finish C. Participation must be follow a respectful behavior, well-founded support, and critical reflection about the argumentation based on your thoughts about this reading. Reading A. This one doesn't have to be of the 3. It can be of of 2A, 2B, or 2C. Okay? So it doesn't have to be all 3. Let's go ahead and read your responsibility. You can read mine later. Forums access. Enter the course on Moodle and look at the corresponding forum section. So this section. Read the instructions and rules of the forum before participating, what I mentioned on top. Active participation. Contribute to the forum with at least one initial entry that expresses your opinion on any of the units 2, 2A, 2B, or 2C. interact with your classmates, asking some of on their entries and encourage constructive debate. So, for example, Nathaniel added a new theme. Here's what it says: añadir nuevo tema de debate. There you have to click in order to make your comment. Nathaniel writes, Unit 2B was too boring for me because blah, 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 blah. And then Clarice answers him, why do you say that, Nathaniel? Because to me, reading 2B was very interesting because of this and that and this. It will be some kind of conversation, okay? So ask any questions that you might not be clear on the task to develop on the information read through the whole unit. You can ask, not only say it's boring. I mean, that was not a good example. You cannot say that, Nathaniel. Okay, you cannot say it's boring, period. No. You have to make some kind of insightful, okay, information. For example, if we go back to the multigrados, Josmi may say, I think that multigrados are a very hard level to teach and something that really doesn't contribute to the students' learning because you have too many different levels in one class. That might be a comment, okay? And one of you have to answer, okay? So remember, respect and collaboration. Keep a respectful and collaborative tone in discussion. Avoid offensive or over-critical points of view. Use constructive ideas, include questions, and enrich the debate with significant support. Notifications. Turn on notifications to receive alerts about new forum posted. Everybody, every single one of you have to post one main question and at least answer to one of your classmates' questions. Okay? I'm going to put that somewhere so you don't forget, Nathaniel. Okay? Hello, Cristel. Are we clear on what you have to do with form? Are we clear on what you have to do with glossary? Okay? So remember, it's not due today, it's not due tomorrow, it's until, let me see the date, until a month and so from now. Okay? And on the glossary, once again, don't just focus on Unit 2A. Try to put one word from 2A, one word from 2B, one word from 2C for the glossary. Okay? So you have it open already. So you can start doing the one for 2A and put it in there. Okay, so for next week, task 2, start working on your glossaries and you can do the forum right away because it's on any topic or of any of Unit 2A, 2B, and 2C. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay. So let me go ahead and share a little presentation that I have about Unit 2A. Let me just go ahead and find it. Are you able to see the PowerPoint?
Yes, teacher.
Thank you very much for answering. All right. Okay. So, Introduction to Listening, Unit 2A. Okay, in here you will see, okay, what is the nature of listening? Okay. Listening is an active and purposeful skill for constructing meaning. Okay. And that is why it is the first skill that usually we use in any type of language learning, even our mother tongue. Okay. We are like receptors, okay, capturing information all the time by just listening, okay? Usually in a mother tongue, or when you learn Spanish, or if you have children, when your children learn their mother tongue, Spanish, it took them about 1 year and a half to 2 years to start speaking. So imagine how longer it will take you, or it will take a person to learn another language. Okay. First, they have to gather all these meaningful and constructive meaning in order to produce. Okay. Listening is different than hearing. Okay. Because it requires comprehension and interpretation. So according to Krashen's comprehensive input, or what is known as CI, learners acquire when their input is understandable. So in the process of learning a language, listening is the first one. And once your brain gets all that connection inside, then you can start producing. And that's when you start speaking a little. Okay, there is an importance of listening in language learning because you get core receptive skills of communication. You support vocabulary, pronunciation, and grammar awareness. Even with listening, you can get grammar, okay? Because grammar, remember, is not always not punctuation. Some people, for example, people that have gone to another language, to another country, they learn English grammar just by listening. Okay, that's a natural way of learning another language. They don't tell you that you have to. They don't tell you that okay, the present tense uh, you have to use an S after a verb if you use he, she, or it. No, just by listening, they acquire it. Okay, so yes, by listening 100% in another language, you get the grammar. Or haven't you noticed? Have you talked to an American or a British or somebody that their mother tongue is English? Sometimes their grammar, sometimes they say you is, okay? Because they have some type of fossilization in their learning. Another important aspect of listening is building foundations for speaking, reading, and writing. Okay? Remember, this is the first stepping stone on all the skills, the listening. There are different types of listening. You have intensive listening that focuses on details such as pronunciation and grammar. You have extensive, which are long texts for general understanding. Descriptive, recognizing sounds, accents, and intonation. comprehensive, which is understanding messages and ideas, and critical, evaluating content and arguments. So all of these type of listenings, when you're going to teach English, you need to know which one are you going to use. For example, in a class of phonetics, we use discriminative, okay? In a class of oral communication, we should use intensive, or depending on what your goal is, okay? Because if you're evaluating content or answering questions, you're going to do critical and comprehensive. So see the importance of understanding the different types of listening. We have, in the listening process, we have receiving is when we decode the sounds. Understanding is when we attach a meaning to those sounds. Then interpreting is when we relate the content to a previous knowledge. Responding when we show comprehension. And remembering is when we store the vocabulary for future use. So that will be like the way that we have our process of listening when we learn another language, okay? There are some factors that affect listening. The speaker's related accent, speed and clarity. And I'm not talking on just students. For example, those of you that have heard people from India or people from Scotland, it's very hard for them, for us to understand them, okay? Because the way of their accent. There is a factor called listener related that is based on motivation, knowledge, and concentration. For example, when you're learning, okay, if you're motivated, if the class is interesting, you're going to pay more attention. But then if you spend like 3 or 4 hours listening to just an explanation, your motivation, your concentration is going to fade away. Okay? Another factor is the environmental related, the noises and the distraction. Like here in my house, it's just starting to rain. So you're not going to be paying too much attention if you hear on the background of my explanations the rain, or maybe Aisha barking, or somebody yelling. So that's a reason why I ask you to use headphones when you are in the middle of the living room trying to listen to a class. Another factor that affects listening is text related, how complex the text is, how the vocabulary that they're using. Okay? So all the factors are the speaker, the listener, the environment, and the text whenever we're listening somebody reading. Okay. Classroom implications related to listening. Listening must be explicitly taught. Okay, I think you have never heard anybody say in an English class, we're going to learn listening, or we're going to learn how to listen. No, that is immersed on the other skills. Okay, I mean, until now that I'm teaching you listening, right? So for most of the listening that are taught in high school or in any level, when you develop a listening task, you're going to use pre-listening, while listening, and post-listening activities. But we will focus on that on a unit 2C, okay? Yeah, 2C, I think, or 2B, okay? Something like that. Okay, another implication is to provide authentic input, songs, podcasts, and dialogues. So, for example, when you're teaching listening in a classroom, okay, you usually do it with listening comprehension. You're not going to tell them, we're going to learn listening. No, we're going to do listening comprehension or oral communication. So you need to back up all of your activities with some kind of listening input, a song, a dialogue, or a podcast. And it should be better if it is done by a natural speaker, okay? If you get a recording instead of just you talking all the time. Theories and processing of listening. So listening is a primary channel of acquisition, as I said, any language. We start with listening first. Then, aside from pre-listening, while listening, and post-listening activities, we can have top-down activities where you use context and prior knowledge in order to encourage the listening activity. We can also have a bottom-up activity for listening where you decode sounds, words, and phrases. And then we can have an interactive, which is a balance or a combination of both. And this, you're going to see it very clearly on the text, okay? Where you mix top down and bottom up in different activities. Strategies for listening. Yeah, we need strategies even to listen as theory, okay? Metacognitive. You have to do planning, monitoring, and evaluating comprehension, okay? How many times have you done a listening activity and the professor never checks your answers on that listening activity? That is an error from the beginning because it is the foundation, as I said, in order to learn a language. Cognitive strategies, you have to rehearsal, summarization, and organization, okay? You have to find out the appropriate type of listening for the appropriate level that you're teaching, okay? It's not just whatever you find, okay? Another strategy is social affective. What you do cooperative learning and the negotiation of meaning. What does it mean? You're not going to negotiate with somebody what they say I want you understood. No, it is that you're going to listen something. It's the same as when you read, okay? Remember when I told you in literature, for those that I told you literature, read the whole thing and try to understand the whole thing globally, okay? Not word by word. It is the same with listening. When you start listening to another language, you have to get the meaning globally of what you listened. And then later on, the activity will go two meanings of the vocabulary. And that's why I included glossary in this class, because that's one tool that is used for listening as well as speaking. So the developmental levels of listening, of course, we have beginners, we have an intermediate, and we have advanced, like in any level of anything. So the beginning, perceptive speech as noises and limited vocabulary. Okay. It's like the face that you get, like when you're speaking English in a whole class, for example, at second year, and you notice that there are some students that don't have a clue what you're saying, is because to them, English is just a noise. Okay. And they don't have too much vocabulary. Then intermediate. People who are intermediate listeners can identify main ideas, and they need more practice. So the more so if you're a beginner, you're not going to develop English if you keep your vocabulary limited. So as I said, the more you listen things in English, and that's why I always encourage you when you were in class, only speak English in a class. I have a group right now that as soon as I turn around, they start speaking Spanish, and they have a very limited vocabulary. Some of them, okay? The ones that, of course, have English in their background is different, but the more you listen to the podcast, listen to the movies, listen to the songs, okay, in English. And you can see and you can notice when you become teachers or when you're going to practice now, the people that listen all the time to things in English and to those that don't listen to things in English, because it also affects at some point your pronunciation. Because the more you listen, the better pronunciation you get. Okay, so listening is a very important skill that a lot of students don't think it that way. And of course, we have advanced. So they are academic listeners. You should be advanced listeners. I'm not saying advanced on all the skills, but at least listeners. You should understand everything that I say, especially because when I speak on classes, I pause. I don't speak too fast. Okay. And that's one thing that is important also. There are teachers that they go, blah, 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 okay, that they think that just being natural speakers in English and to speak faster is going to benefit their students. No, you have to have a pause when you speak and when you're a teacher. So you can listen to longer text, and you can get abstract ideas or irony and jokes, okay, when you are advanced speakers. Okay, so remember, listening is a complex, active skill essential for language acquisition. Effective listening teaching requires scaffolding, so building one on top of the other. Listen. The more you listen, the more vocabulary you're going to get. Authentic material. Remember, when you become teachers, Meduca, or whatever you're going to teach in the future, just don't stick what you have in hand. Make it fun. I don't, I'm I don't have to make it fun because you're in fourth year of the university. But if you were in pre-K with me, we'll you'll be dancing, singing, and whatever. And that's why I don't teach in pre-K or any younger levels because I don't like to sing. It will be raining harder if I was singing. Anyhow, and strategies adapted to learners' development stages. And that's why I always emphasize on the levels of learning, because you have to, if you're going to present or if you're going to take a recorder or not a recorder, that doesn't work anymore. If you're going to take your phone and play a listening activity, it had to be first short for beginners, then a little bit intermediate or sort of like a short story for intermediate, and then longer text for advanced. So you have to make sure that what you use is going to be appropriate for the level that you are going to teach. Okay, so this is the information that you're going to find on Unit 2A. Remember your task. Let me go. And any questions on the explanation in general? No. Remember, I'm recording. If you came in late, you can go back and listen to the whole explanation. And if you have any questions, just text me on Moodle. Okay, so let me go ahead and go to Moodle again. Right. Here we go. Can you see Moodle now? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Next.
teacher.
So this is Unit 2A, the explanation of or what you have on your PDF is the same thing that I was talking about. Here you have it. You're going to read it. You're going to internalize it, meaning that you're going to comprehend it somehow. And here is your task. It's just to do a summary, get the important information, put it in a PowerPoint, and deliver a video. Remember, the video will be delivered in links. Make sure that the link is copied completely, because if you're missing one character, it will not get to me. Okay? You can do it YouTube, Canvas, or the link from Teams to give the explanation. Okay? Also, here you have a video that explains the different strategies of what I was telling you, top down and bottom up. There are two major strategies when teaching listening. Top down, bottom up, an interaction of those two, and the one that we're going to cover in 2B, which is pre-listening, while listening, and post-listening activities. So let me go ahead and make that available so you can watch the video again. Remember, mandatory the reading of the PDF, but you can watch the videos. I always try to find very short videos. I think this one is 7 minutes long with good explanations that complement the information on your readings in order to do the task. This task is due September 11th, okay, at 10:05, okay? And remember, you have task 1 due this Thursday, September 4th, okay? Any question, guys? No questions? Okay. Just a heads up, your final exam will be what is called a reflective board. So start taking notes of what we do on the classes. Don't worry about it, but just to let you know. You still have the videos as a source, but write down because it will be internalized, your learning. Okay? Something like what we did with the e-folio. But this will be done in Padlet. Okay? So right now available, you have just me. I recommend you, or those that were not here the first class, read the general information that is here. Look at the rubrics, okay? The bibliography. You have unit 1, that is due Thursday, this Thursday, and unit 2A, which is due next week. We will only meet on Mondays to give you all the instructions, a brief explanation of what you're going to encounter. And unless I tell you, we will not meet on Thursdays. Or unless you text me. Remember, texts are here with the chat from Moodle. If you have any questions, do it there. Don't leave the questions for the last day of delivery. And if you have any question, I can meet with the person that has a specific question on Thursdays. Okay? So that's why I give you a week and a half because I recommend you to continue reading when we disconnect. So if you have any questions, you can do them before next week. Okay? I will go ahead and post the video or the recording for this video so you can listen to it, those that connected later. And remember, deliver on time. Don't leave everything for the end. And click here where it says finalización whenever you read or whenever you finish watching a video. You have to click them all, okay, in order to advance. Okay. And if I can get to the way that I want to keep the class for everybody, you can move on a little faster than what the class is given. It's up to you. Okay? But I will let you know if I manage to get it that the units open. When you finish one, it opens another. Okay? So, any questions? Kerube, questions?
No,
Teacher,
I understand.
Okay. Yes, William?
yes, hello. Teacher, respect to the final test, you talking about it's gonna be in advance. We need to take notes and all that stuff to add, um, to include in the work of the final task.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
what
just it is like a diary, kind of a learning diary.
gonna be like a diary or a
Yeah,
portfolio, something like that?
remember what you did last semester with the e-folio? Something
Yes.
similar to that. Okay?
Oh, well. It's very much to see what we can, we can be working on that in advance, like you say.
Yeah.
But well,
I'm not gonna make
I
it
wanna
available. I'm not
I
gonna
wanna
make
be
it a
clear. I wanna be clear in what I need to do in advance, like you say. But what I need to take, where I need to put those notes and all the stuff to, you know, to
okay, don't
get it.
worry. The final exams will have like 2 or 3 weeks in order to work for the final exam. So you will have plenty of time. If
Yes, I
you
know, but well, you mentioned that. That's why I want to be sure.
Yeah, just write down. It's just to, for example, on unit 1, the one that
Mhm.
you have to deliver this week, you're just gonna put down what did you learn. Okay, that's something that you can start doing in advance. What did you learn with that? And that will be the only thing that you will need in addition. for your final exam. Okay?
Okay, thank you. I
You're
appreciate it.
very welcome. Yeah, but don't worry. As you can see here, let me go ahead and make it shorter so everybody can see what we're covering. The units are very short. The spaces are given with enough time. You have unit one, which is the general for this week. You have unit two, that is divided by the ABC, which is just the material or the background for teaching listening. Then unit three goes along with the midterm.
Hmm.
That is a practical part of listening. Then you have unit 4A and 4B that has to do with the theory for speaking. And unit 5, along with midterm 2, it's a practical part for speaking and then the final exam. So if you can see, it's a very short uh, type of information and material. And the times, for example, the midterms, you have like 15 days in order to do them. Okay. All the classes, all the tasks will be given 1 week and they will be due next week. The only one that is different is unit one because I made it available last week and I sent the information that you should have read it. Okay. And I already have somebody that delivered it. But usually you have 1 week in order to deliver your task. So don't worry. It will not be
Teacher,
in a rush. Yes, Wilberto.
so this semester we're gonna work five task, two midterm, and the final exam, right?
There will be 1, 2, 3, 4,
Unit.
5, 6 tasks. Six tasks, 2 midterms, and the final exam. That's what you're going to work this semester.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. And everything will be presentations. Okay? Presentations. Remember, I told you, fourth year is not memory. Fourth year is reading, internalizing, and explaining what you understand. And I don't like to see you here just looking everybody else's presentation over and over again because, I mean, you're going to get bored. Okay? So I'll let you do your work. I'll give you pointers. Remember, when you present, make sure that you speak clearly, that the recording of the audio is clear, Lester, okay? And that you can see, I can see your faces when you're talking, okay? Okay, so remember, if you have any questions, go ahead and text me on Moodle. I usually don't ever open email, okay? So do it with Moodle, okay? Please go ahead, sit down, and at least read the mandatory reading today, okay? You have until 8 something to do it, so you have enough time. So just in case you have any questions, you can text me right away and I can answer. And then you have it already gone. Okay. Don't leave things by the last minute. Remember, electricity, we have a lot of those problems last semester. So try to do it right away. I'm giving you the time to do your task. Go ahead and do it. Okay. So any other question, people?
Professor, I will stay. I have to ask